So you got a couple of you guys on here. Can you guys hear me okay? Hi, Steven. Got about 12 minutes yet before the live stream is going to start. What's up? Give me a comment. Let me know you can hear me. Let me know that the stream is okay. Appreciate you coming on early. Looks live to me, Marcus says. How you doing, Marcus? Favorite movies. And I actually really enjoyed the Gladiator 2 that came out. I was pleasantly surprised by that one. Seeing some lagging issues. Shouldn't be on my end. Everything does say stream status poor. Please use a keyframe pause buffering. Let me see if I can figure that out. Let me know how the stream is for you as we're getting set up here, trying to make sure everything works good. My video quality and definitely lagging issues here. Interesting. Well, see if I can figure anything out. Everything on my end here seems to be looking okay. Kilobits per second. Can I fix this? Mode. See if this fixes it at all here. I made an adjustment to the bit rate. We're kind of learning as we go. It looks like this has gotten better. Dennis Huddleston, hello from West Virginia. Hello, Dennis. Dennis, do you have an alt mill? Or are you like a lot of people that are still, Steven, you said seems better now. That's good. Yeah, I just changed the bit rate setting. So I'm using OBS software. It's open broadcast systems or software or something like that, OBS. So that's what I'm trying. It was recommended to me. And I'm not super duper techie, but I can get my way around the bush, I guess. So it seems to be more stable here now, but definitely let me know, guys, if things get a little crazy. I'm trying to provide good information. I want you guys to be able to hear me good. I've spent lots of hours working on this setup, trying to get things rolling here. So I'll switch through some of my stuff. So this is, we'll call this my alt mill setup here. So you can see, I got a zoomed in shot of the rapid change. So if I go to my flood pin, I can open the flood pin so you can kind of see there's a couple of delays between the cameras there, but you can get a good close-up shot of the rapid change, and then you got kind of an overview shot. And I shut the flood pin off, so top scene. So I got my desktop scene, so we can do stuff in GSender here, and you can still see the rapid change. I can change these things around. We can also go to ATC only, so we can really do a good zoomed in shot, here for you. So if we, open up the cover with, a flood pin, shut it off, things like that. So let me know if all that ran smooth for everyone. Dean, this is my second live, Dean, and I haven't, I'm learning through all this software, learning how to get you guys the information that everybody's looking for. So Tall Flyer, I am using OBS software for streaming. So I spent several hours this week trying to figure things out and try to get things connected. So hopefully everything goes smooth. It's a learning process for me. I'm just like everybody else here. I'm just one of you guys trying to learn through this stuff here. So Dennis says, still looking at it. Had an XCarve upgraded for 6 years now. It runs like a champ. I've never had any trouble with it. Yeah, nothing wrong with the XCarve, for sure. I have no experience with the XCarve. My experience is in the Next Wave Shark HD3 that was handed down to me from my dad. And now I have the alt mill. So this other one that I got from my dad, that Shark, it was painfully slow for the things that I wanted to do, and I just couldn't imagine making any money with it. It wasn't fast enough. So like the speed of the alt mill, yes, it, from Next Wave, the HD3. I'm sure the HD5 is probably just fine, but this alt mill is just crazy. You have to force yourself to really learn what you're doing, because when you hit go, it goes. And I know you can back out on the settings and stuff, but What fun is that, right? Cat Slod 2, hey Tom, Justin Superior here. Do you or anyone watching know where I can find a 3D print model to put onto the Z motor for a 2¼ inch dust hose? So I don't have a 3D printer, but I'm sure somebody on here could chime in, and I'm sure somebody would be happy to make you one. Maybe you have a printer. It sounds like maybe you have a printer and you're looking for the file. I think I get it now. The only person that comes to mind, which I don't know him personally, is Francis with Francis Creations, where I got my automatic dust boot from. There you go. Dean just said you can buy that from Francis Creations. Perfect. Well, it's 7:01, everybody. This is cool. I'm going to check here and see how many people we got on here. So right now we have 7 people that I'm doing. This is for you guys. So otherwise this kind of eats up my time. It's challenging, it's fun, and I've really enjoyed working with you guys so far. I've had some good one-on-ones, helping some of you guys set up your Altmills and your ATCs. And I don't know everything, but I'm here and willing to help and try to help everybody get things connected and get things running. I can't say enough about the rapid change. I know all my videos about rapid change seem like I'm trying to sell this thing, but I'm not selling it. I'm not making any money off of it. I just think it's a game changer for us, regular hobbyist people. I mean, people that are doing this for production purposes and really like cranking stuff out industrial. I mean, that's what the $200,000 machines are for, right? And so this is a hobby level stuff. Doesn't mean it can't be used for production. I use it certainly for production, but I'm not running 12 hours a day, 7 days a week by any means. I'm doing it as a hobby. I have a full-time job in Eau Claire, Wisconsin here. Still paying taxes to the man. So I'm just here to help you guys out. So fire away, ask any questions that you want. Tall Flyer has a long mill, MK1 with the Makita. Been playing with. Decided to pull the trigger on the alt mill. Probably a good. My other one, it was good. It was starting to become work pretty fast, but with this alt mill, there are so many things that you can do. The machine is way faster than the bits, and so you can actually max out the bits and do so much. You have so much more capabilities with water cooled kit. I have no experience with PWN CNC. So I have nothing positive or negative to say about it. I mean, they're definitely doing tool changing and doing things. So I believe they're just normal guys and gals just like we are, trying, to make products and 3D print everything. I believe most everything is 3D printed, spindles from, or anything like that. So I have the Wanyang 2.2 kilowatt 110 volt with the matching 2.2 kilowatt 110 volt VFD. So sounds like dropped it to 720. We'll see if that helps. Yeah, I'm running, my picture here is in, and I could possibly drop those down if it's lagging too bad. Definitely a lot of stuff here. It looks like my kilobits per second was red there for a little bit. So not the fastest computer out there. So it could be a processing thing on my end. So we'll see if this helps. I can also drop down the bit rates on here. Let's see. Let me go back into my settings. File settings. Video output. Let's see if that makes any difference. down to some more settings for my stream. Output. All right. So let's see if that stabilizes it all here, guys and gals. All right, lagging is bad. I bought the upgraded PWN CNC router with VFD. Was told it is totally plug and play with the Altmill. That's good. It'll be good to see, if it actually is when you get it. I mean, plug and play is great until you change one setting, and then it's no longer plug and play, right? So there's I've been learning a lot about settings here. Tallflyer says, thanks, Dean. I'd love to go for a power spindle, but I'm limited to 3 circuits in my garage. Just going for first time. Welcome, Gitlow Woody. I don't know if I said that right. Welcome. Welcome to the live stream here. So let me know how the lagging is doing, guys. Hopefully it's getting better. So I haven't gotten any questions. So if you guys have something that you want me to demo or you want to see, just put a couple of question marks first and then put your question or what you would like to see or what you'd like me to demo, and I'll be happy to do that. So I think the title of tonight's live was it's all about the ATC and the auto dust boot. So I guess we can do some tool changes here. So let's switch to my desktop source here. And let me see what I have for a current tool here. So this tells me my current tool is that's not telling me current tool. So let's break this out. This new version of GSender, I'm having some struggles with it. When I have it on my G panel computer, it doesn't fit the screen and it's a little cut off. It works here. Current tool is number 5. So if you guys, I guess I'll just kind of, since this is a a tutorial. Price of the tool changer is, if you go to the Rapid Change website, rapidchange.com, they have all the pricing on there. So I have the 8-position premium model, which has the sensors and has the dust cover. I believe it was $750. And then for an extra $50, you can get the tool setter that is added onto it. So $800 altogether is what my setup is. Two by four, and was wondering if the tool changer will be beneficial. Well, we'll demo a couple of things here for you, and it's hugely beneficial. I don't know what you make, but I make cribbage boards. I got some right here I can show you. So here's one of my cribbage boards that I sell on Etsy. I don't know, maybe I got to do a bigger picture. So I basically pocket this thing down. It starts with 1.25 inch walnut, and then I pocket this down around my 3D carve, and then it does my 3D engraving, and then I have a 30-degree bit that does the engraving for, the words or the letters that are on here. See if I can get that in the picture. And then I have a drill bit that does all the holes, another 30-degree bit, oh, same 30-degree bit, I guess, that does these words. I have a 45-degree chamfer tool that I have in there, and then I have my finishing down cutter to cut it out. So I think on these it's 6 bits for these. I got other cribbage boards that I use up to all 8, depending on what I'm doing. So when I hit go on my machine, I got some videos. If you subscribe and or just look at my videos, I think it was one that was 3 days ago. I think it's called like full automation. It does a 3-tool short program, just doing a circle, so you can kind of see you hit go one time, and it runs the whole program, changes all the tools, does everything. So when it's done, your project's done. So it's pretty nice. So I think it's definitely beneficial, and now that I have it, I don't know how I lived without it, honestly. So now when this thing goes for 6 hours, running, 8 cribbage boards, I can do lots of other things in 6 hours. So I can have it going in the background while I am being productive on other things. And in my mind, that is what, the CNCing is all about. So before, it was like every 10 minutes, unless I was doing a 3D carve, every 10 minutes or so, I had to come and change a bit. And so I really couldn't get away from the machine. So, oh, Dean, you can ask whatever questions you want on this channel here. Yes, you can lose carving space. I believe this tool changer measures like, I don't know, it's like 2 inches deep and I don't know, 14 inches long. But it's easily removable. So if you want to use your whole table and do manual tool changes, you certainly can. All you do is just change your post processor when you save your tool files in Vectric, and we can get into that if we like. But yeah, it's not a big deal if you need to use your whole table. You just go back to manual and save your programs out of Vectric, VCarve, or whatever you're using, and just save them like you're doing now, and you won't have an issue. But if you save them to all one file for tool changes, well, you won't have your tool changer on there anymore. How many cribbage boards do I cut out at one time? Well, if I can, I cut out 8 at a time. So, and these are for my travel cribbage boards. So I think I got some over here that I cut out 6. So here's an example of one of my glue ups where I did 5 out of the 6. So I still got 1 spot available here on one of the last runs that I did. So I just glue up a big cutting board, and then I set this on here and pin everything down, and I just hit go. So in Vectric, when you go in your Vectric CAM software, kind of where you save your tool paths and all that kind of stuff, you just create one file. Like if you're making them all the same and you create one file, you can actually, what's it called? I want to say vectorize them, but that's not the right word. You can do an array of them. So you could do 2 of them. So you make one file with your tool paths for one product, and then you can do an array. So you can do 2. You'll have in your original one, you can do one below it, and you can array them to the left. So you can basically do, if you know what a tool array is, like when you're doing your design software and you create one circle and you do an array of 20 of them to the x-axis and 20 of them to the y-axis, you're going to get 20 this way, 20 that way. It's going to fill a whole grid of them. So you can do the same thing in your CAM software in Vectric and do arrays with one file. Or you can create your templates and you can basically create as many custom files as you want and do them all at once, even if they're unique. VCarve Pro is limited to, if you're doing 3D files, you're limited to only one custom 3D file at a time. There are some ways around that a little bit, unless otherwise you got to upgrade to Aspire to be able to do more than one, unless you buy their specific 3D files. So All right. So let's me catch up here real quick. Pro tip, if you want to use the LED gantry lights, slide them in the T-slot before you assemble the gantry. Hey, that's cool. Wouldn't be too hard to probably pull this gantry apart, loosen up a few screws, and do that too after the fact. That's a great idea. So I actually have my LEDs. I just have never had a chance to set them up. And what doesn't make sense to me about the LEDs is they're not actually really where your bit is. So they're kind of, they don't light up down on the product. So I would almost rather have some kind of other light that's out by the spindle to kind of light it up. But I don't know. The colors are cool and all of that. I just haven't had a chance to get to that yet. Let's see. I don't use Carveco. I use Vectric VCarve Pro is what I use. I am not familiar with Carveco, but there's a lot of similarities, I'm sure. So Stephen Graves questioned the DIY version of Collet bit retainers. Where are they seated between? Okay, I can answer that one. Let me grab some Collet nuts here. Okay. Let me make my screen bigger so I can show you guys some stuff. So I just got to quickly create a new scene. I'm still here, guys. Hang on with me. I'm just creating a new scene so you guys can see me. And let's do another video capture device. Add existing. Laptop cam. Okay. All right. You can see me, I think, here. So hopefully you guys can see me. I think that works with the during live stream. So here I pulled these right out of the ATC. And there is no dust in them. So we'll start with that. We had some comments, I think, on Facebook and some other things. People said you're going to get dust in these things or whatever. I don't get any dust in them, none. And that's the great thing about these collet savers. So the collet saver is right here. This is a piece of rubber that fits tight around this bit. Let me pull this out. All right. So it just sticks on here. So I clean this with brake cleaner or acetone, and it's a hardish soft rubber. This is a 1/2 inch shank that goes in here. So there's 1/2 inch, 1/8 inch, whatever. This is actually from Rapid Change. So these are their 3D printed ones that you get from Rapid Change. And when you put your bit in here, you can't get any dust in your collet. So I would highly recommend these whether you have an ATC or not, because then you don't get dust in your collet. And I know when I do 3D carving, my collets fill up with dust, and I got to clean them every time. So I literally have not cleaned the collet since I've had this ATC. I've blown them out a couple times, but there is nothing inside these collets. They are shiny, brand new, like the day I bought them. And they're also rubber so that this flexible part here can kind of move on there. So that has to be able to move. And then when you put it in here, it just, let me see if I get you a good angle. You just kind of hold your collet in here and kind of get that lined up, and then you can kind of shove her in there, and then it's in there. And I don't ever shove my bits in, to the end. You always leave them. I was told you always leave them like a little less than 1/8 of an inch or whatever from the end, and you get the best clamping pressure, I guess, on them. So that's his solution. I'm going to show you my DIY solution. So these on their site for Rapid Change for $10, I believe you get either 4 or 5 of these. So you get one of each size. They don't have an offering for if you need, 5 quarter-inch ones or 10 quarter-inch ones. You literally got to buy 8 packs, and some you need, some you don't. But I believe if you reach out to the guys at Rapid Change with Don or Thomas and tell them what you're looking for, they're going to hook you up, and they'll sell you whatever you want. So they just 3D print them. So here's my DIY solution here. And what I did before I got those from Don, so you can see on here, it's just hacked up. I just kind of cut it with a utility knife. I went to my local store. So up here in Wisconsin, we have Menards, which is just like a Home Depot or a Lowe's, things like that. But John Menard is a local guy up here in Eau Claire. And so he's got all these stores. And I went there and I bought these rubber washers. So they're, I don't know, 1.25 inch diameter washers. And they had different size holes in the middle. So I think I just got it's like a 3/16 inch hole in the middle. And what I did is I just put some CA glue on my deal here and put the washer. I actually had to clean the washers with acetone because they were full of like powder, so they wouldn't stick. And then I just put the washer on my bit and put my collet and my nut hand tight into my spindle, and then I slid my bit up into there, and I just put CA glue on there and pushed it up into there and let that sit. And these have been on here ever since. This is what all of my, except for that one, this is what all of my bits have in them. So that's just CA glue with a rubber washer is what I use. It works great. So I think the washers were 29 cents a piece. So that's kind of my little setup there. All right, let me get back to the comments here. Let's see what everybody's talking about here. The DIY version of the collet bit retainers, where are they seated between? So hopefully, Stephen, that answers your question. Give me a thumbs up if it did. Tried to explain it the best I could, but it just glues up to the, where the bit slides in on the bottom side of the collet. It just sticks to the collet. So you have to use rubber because that bit has to be a little bit flexible in there so that when it seats up to the collet, it's got to have a little bit of flex to it so it can seat properly. You don't want to hold it back from seating nice and square, up in there. Marcus is not pulling his gantry apart. We don't blame you. Let's see. Said they were going to sell them individually. I bought like 8 sets, I think, so I'll have a bunch of spares. Right on, Dean. So I actually, so my next thing is on Amazon for less than $10. You can buy a 12-inch by 12-inch. I believe it's a 32nd of an inch thick neoprene rubber. So it's a real thin rubber, and it's got self-adhesive on it. And it's, it's got the plastic on it, so it's not sticky right out the gate. And I have a laser engraver, and I'm just going to laser mount for whatever size I want. And that's going to be my solution. So $10, I'll probably be able to make 100 of them for $10. So they'll be 10 cents a piece. So that's going to be my DIY solution. All right, thumbs up. Thanks. You bet, Steve. Anytime. All right, let me put these back in the spindle here, or in the ATC here. I suppose we should do a demo for you guys. So it says I got tool 5 in there. And so I believe that is correct. I have tool 5. I always like to make sure current tool 5. Always gotta make sure your computer knows what tool you have so you don't crash your bit into another set. So I am going to do a tool change. I'm just going to do an ATC manual tool change. So no tools involved, but you just type in the M codes. So M6 is what I'm typing in there, is what it's going to, is the command for the tool change. And let's just pick tool 1. So I'll just put T1. So M6 T1 is my command. I hit enter. And it's going to drop off tool 5. And it's going to pick up tool 1. And now it's going to go and measure the offset of the tool, and it's going to keep track of how long the tool is. All right. So, and I have mine set up now, so it just keeps the flood pin on. So if I were to look at my flood pin right now, my flood pin is on because I don't have it moving out of the way. I do have a macro on here that I can measure current tool now if I really wanted to. So measure current tool, and now it'll move itself out of the way, and it closes the dust cover, if that's important. But when you're running a program and you're running kind of in production, if you will, you know, you're not doing the M6 T1 tool changes. It's doing it all automatically, and I can run a program here for you if you'd like to go that route and show you how that works too. Did you add the extension piece for the auto dust boot from Francis? I can, yeah, I'll do that next. So I just wanted to kind of show you a tool change. So here's my extension. Let me bring this guy to me. I'll go to my other view here for you guys. Kind of see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to put this dust boot on here. So if I was running production, I'd just be kind of setting this guy on here. It just goes on there with 2 screws, and I'm all set. So right now it's technically down, but I don't have a product on there. So I can adjust this and set this down to where I want it. And then you just double click it, and that's its down setting. You click it once and it comes up. Click it once again, it goes down. So it should be in the down position right now because the flood pin is off. So if I turn my flood pin on, it raises it up and it opens my dust cover. You guys should be able to see, I guess you can see that dust cover and everything. So, and when I turn the flood pin off, closes the dust cover and lowers the dust boot. They're both on the same flood pin. So, and we can do another tool change here with the dust boot. So let's do, we got tool 1 now, so let's just pick up, I guess, tool 2. So we'll do M6T2, hit enter. So it's going to drop off tool 1. And it's going to pick up tool 2. And then it'll go measure that tool. And again, I don't have this set up to move out of the way or anything like that. That's just a straight up tool change command. There's no other commands with it. So if I wanted to move it out of the way and close that, if I was doing something else, I just have my macro set up here in GSender to measure the current tool. So I just do that. That'll measure that tool, and then it'll move it out of the way and park it. Now everything's closed, all hands free, no tools. So that's kind of how that works, you know, with that setup. So, you know, if you have any questions on that, I can demo all day long on that kind of stuff. If you want me to run my tool change program, I can do that. I have to disconnect there. I got to actually come onto my G-panel computer over here and plug in the Altmill over. That's where I got all my files over there. My other computer where I'm sharing my screen, that's just off of my laptop here. So let's see here. Let's load a file. And GSender, testing. Whoops, I don't want that one. Let's see if I can find it. Let's see, where do I have it? GSender, Vectric files. I gotta remember where I have it now. Rapid change ATC. Oh, here, test 3 tools. So this should be my test 3 tools. Okay. Make sure I don't have anything in the way of this thing. So I know you guys can't see what I'm doing on this other screen over here, but I got the file loaded, and now I'm running this new GSender, so it's a little different than what I'm used to. And I gotta connect this guy, COM3. Let's see. So I don't know where I can, it says I can outline the program. You used to have a deal where you could check your file. And I really like that feature because when you're working in Vectric, if you don't have Bezier curves on your curves and you work in inches like I do, you're gonna get some rounding errors and you're gonna have some problems with your program stopping because it gets rounding errors. And so I don't see that feature on this one. So I might be going back to the old GSender. I'm not liking this new one just yet, but I won't give up on it just yet. So I guess I'll just run the program. I don't know if it's going to work or not, guys. I'll keep my hand on the e-stop and we'll see what happens. So tool, it thinks it's got tool 2, so it knows. So that all comes from the controller. I should be ready to rock and roll. And I'll go with my spindle. Let's just hit start. And the first tool is tool number 1. This is just my testing program. It cuts a circle in the air. So, and it's going to go measure this tool. Now it's ramping up. And now it's basically just drawing a circle. So that would be, let's just say if you were doing a pocket or something, that would go as long as it needs to go for running that. And now it's done. I have an 8-second delay. And then it's dropping off tool 1. I believe it goes and picks up 7. And now it'll measure this tool and, you know, subtract or add the difference to maintain its Z0. And now the spindle's ramping up, and you'll see when it starts to pull away, that's when it closes that flood pin and closes the dust cover. So there, the dust cover closed. And then now the dust cover opened and the dust boot went up. Now it'll drop off that tool. I think it picks up tool 3. And what it's doing when it's coming up slow like that, it's using the infrared sensors to sense to make sure that that got put on the collet got put on there properly. If it doesn't get put on there properly, it'll error out and then it'll actually come all the way up to me so I can manually put it on or take it off depending on what errored it. And now it's done. And that's its park location for me. So it's kind of out of my way. So I got a job end status here, complete, time 2 minutes, 18 seconds, and no errors. So that's a program. So that was a 3-tool program. It wouldn't have mattered if I was, you know, what I was making. You could be doing, you know, a whole bunch of pockets with the same bit and a whole bunch of stuff, and it's going to automatically go do its tools and everything I only had to hit the start button, and that's it. It ended the job and did everything all by itself. So that's that demo. Let me move this out of the way a little bit. I'm just gonna open up my, whoops. Open up the flood pin here. I'm just gonna move this out of the way so we can see a little bit better. I'm not sure that's really better, but how's that? All right, let me catch up here on some comments, see if you guys got any questions. Let's see. All right, so when starting a project, you set the X, Y, Z origin on your workpiece. Then the ATC manages the offset for each tool. That is correct, Tall Flyer. And I actually, my next video, I actually totally botched my next video I was going to come out with. And I have my next video is going to be about how I use my setup. Because in the way I do this, I never set my X and Y axis. My X and Y is always set to 0 at home. And I created a template in Vectric that shows my whole table on it. And when I want to carve out a project, I know exactly where to put that on my table in Vectric, and then where to put it on my table, so that every time it comes from home and will engrave wherever I want it to engrave, down to the millimeter accuracy. And so that video got messed up because of my sound that I was having issues with, like on my last live stream. So I'll be working on that one again to show you how you never ever have to set your X and Y positions ever again. All you have to do is Z0 and you're off to the races. ATC. So you can go to rapidchangeatc.com and make your purchase there. It will measure the first tool before dropping it off, before it gets the second tool, and GSender handles it from there. You are 100% correct. So anytime you start a program, you need to Z0 your project out. Actually, the way I do it, I pick up my first tool and I get my first tool measured. And then I 0 my Z axis. And then that tells your controller, where your bit is in relation to Z0. So if you first boot up, every time you first boot up your controller, it's not going to remember what tool you had. You always have to set your tool, and you always have to measure your tool that you have in your spindle. Otherwise, on your second bit change, you're probably going to plow right through your material. So every time you reset your controller, always make sure to measure your current tool and make sure you assign your current tool so that your program knows what you're doing. So I'm sure that there'll be a change for that from CNC Labs at some point, so that the controller can remember those things. That would certainly be nice. But currently it does not. Okay. Sorry, I meant Francis has recently added a sort of extension of the boot that keeps the spindle suction-wise within the boot. Correct. I don't have that yet. I have the old school boot, I guess, where it has the hard plastic above it. So I had to have my boot and my spindle set in there just right. So you can see when it does a tool change now, it just barely pushes that. And you can kind of see that dust boot kind of wiggle a little bit as it just touches it. So I had to get that dialed in just right when I was setting it up, but it's not that hard to do. And once I'm set, now I'm set for pretty much anything I want to do. What is your work background? So my work background is lots of things. So actually, I was in the military. I'm a veteran from the United States Air Force. I served 4 years active there and 4 years inactive right out of high school. And then I was worked on the railroad for just about 5 years as a conductor for the Canadian National Railroad up here. And then the majority of the rest of my life, I was in construction, siding, roofing, those kinds of things. And at 33 years old, I actually went to college, and I was really surprised that I went to college. Worker his whole life, and he was in the Navy, but he always loved woodworking. And so I went to college for telecommunications technologies, and so now I am the project manager for our Eau Claire division for CCNN. I'm wearing a shirt right now. And so I kind of manage our division up here in Eau Claire for telecommunication technology. So we work in the hospitals and the colleges, pulling data cables. It's still construction work. We're just working inside commercial and industrial work for that kind of stuff. So that's kind of my background. And now I've been into CNC here for approximately 2 to 3 years. So all this Altmill stuff, I ordered my Altmill at the end of January, and I just got it in May. And so everything I've learned is from May until now. So I spent lots and lots of hours with Rapid Change on their stuff because they didn't have any of this set up for macros or anything for the Altmill. So about the bugs, we work back and forth, a lot of FaceTime calls to kind of get this thing working. So that's why I'm kind of putting all this information out there right now, because it's very new and not a lot of people really know it and understand it. So I'm trying my best to learn YouTube, to learn the streaming software, to learn the Rapid Change stuff, to try to get this information out to you guys so you guys can understand how cool and how actually robust and how effective this tool changer really is. It's a game changer. It really is. So anyway, moving on. So you have a permanent fence set up for X and Y. That is correct. So I can actually, let me see. I'll take this little camera off here. Oh, let's see if I can. All right. So I got this camera. I should probably grab the other one, but anyway. So on my table, so I'll just look down on my table here. So I have, so you can see my hand. So I just have these aluminum, it was just an aluminum pipe. And I just cut like 1-inch sections off of it. And I just kind of, drilled holes in my spoil board all along my table, all the way from one side to the other. So I can go on my left side or my right side. You can kind of see that there, I guess. And I can butt up a piece of material. So let me grab a piece of material so you can kind of see that. All right. So for all intents and purposes here, I should have done this on the bigger screen. Actually, I can change this to, here we go. So if I take this piece of wood that I got here, I can butt this right up in here, and it's not going anywhere right there. So it's against basically my dog fence here and my dog hole, fence back there with my aluminum. And if I hit one of these aluminum things, it's just aluminum. It's not going to hurt my bit. And they come out fairly easy. I can pull them right out. So if I need the whole table, I just pull these out and use it. But most of the stuff that I do, I just use the front half of this table here. And I got my tool changer back there. That comes off, a couple of screws, pull that off when I have to do big signs and things like that. But for the most part, I'm just doing cribbage boards and smaller stuff and, shelves and things for the missus. So I'm just doing this as a hobby. I'm not full production, or anything like that. So that's kind of my setup there. Let me see if I can get this guy set back up. Next time I'll grab my my other camera. Let me set this back up so we can see that tool changer. How's that? All right. Then I can actually close my flood pin. Let's get this set back up. Okay. Back to the chat. So hopefully that helps you understand my setup. So I just use the front 2 feet of my machine, the full width, and I do cutting board glue ups. I do charcuterie boards, cribbage boards. I'm doing production runs, all hardwood stuff. Almost everything that I do is walnut. And so I got a big pile of walnut over there. I got a big storage unit full of walnut, and I'm constantly planing and gluing up walnut and making stuff out of walnut. Everybody loves walnut, right? So, okay. Let's see here. Sounds like a checklist for starting a project is in order, and a quick reference card for manually inserting codes, macros. Absolutely. I mean, like I said, I've only been doing this since May, probably the middle of May. And so middle of May to June is 2 weeks. All of June is another 4 weeks. It's only 6 weeks, and we're in the start of July. So guys, I've only been doing this for 6 weeks, and I can do almost all these codes and everything without any notes. And if I don't know a G code, if I'm looking through, you know, a file, and we can get into files, and I'm going to get into those in my videos as we come up, but you learn kind of how to read your program, so you kind of understand what's going on, and it really helps you understand where to find errors, because in GSender, it has the other GSender, the what is it, 1.4.2 or whatever I had. That one actually had where you could test the file before you hit run to see if there was any errors. And I had errors all the time until I had to learn from Garrett Fromme. I watched one of his videos about making sure that any curves that you create in a project, you have to use that, what is that tool called? I'll have to open up Vectric here. It's kind of an important one. If anybody, let me know, let me know in the comments if you guys are having any issues in getting errors when you're running things from G code on your Altmill, and you run an inch, you know, you inch settings, but you have millimeter set in your firmware. But if you're running a program and all of a sudden you just get an error and it just stops and it gives you this weird error, that's what I was getting, and I couldn't figure out for the life of me what was going on with it. So let's see. So let's just open this guy up here. I'll change it to my desktop so you guys can kind of see what's going on here. All right. So this was kind of one of my last videos. Let me move myself around here so you guys can see. All right. Because this is how I have things. So this is the size of my bed and my table here. And so my zero home is way up in this left corner here. So this is actually where I kind of just show a couple of my dog holes, if you will. And then these are my straight lines of where I would put my piece. So if I make a glue up, like a cutting board, I literally just create a square and I make my size, whatever it is. If I make it 32 inches wide by 12 inches, you know, on the y-axis, and I just click apply, and then I just grab this thing, snap it up into that corner, and now anything that I make in this main section here, this is actually my work material here, but now I don't have to do an XY, I don't have to zero off of this axis, the XY, because my zero is up here. So whatever I design here, my router is going to come all the way out here and do it here, because my X and Y are set way up in the corner of my bed. So that's how I run things. So that's my next video that I got coming out. So a little spoiler alert, I guess, if you will. But super tool to have. I never ever, even on my old CNC, I never zeroed my X and Y. I just, when I reset my machine, I always sent it home and zeroed it out. You know, it's automatically setting it for you. So why should we set an X and a Y every single time on a new piece of material when all we got to do is create a template in here in Vectric or in whatever software you're using? But I'll show you how to set that up exactly. And it's kind of a game changer. I like it. It's my workflow. So I don't know if I answered the question I was going after here. Let's see, how long did it take you to learn Vectric? Not necessarily master it, but enough to get stuff done. So Vectric is a work in progress all the time. I would say when I got my Shark CNC from my dad, I inherited that from my dad. Never touched a CNC before in my life. Never looked at a G code in my life. Had no idea. I started watching videos from Garrett Fromme, I think was where I started, and watching his YouTube videos. And before I even did anything on that, I learned how to understand the CAD and the CAM software in Vectric and how to create stuff and create toolpaths. But because I'm a woodworker, I mean, I've been woodworking and doing stuff in construction kind of my whole life on and off. So I know how to make cutting boards and glue things up, and I understand construction. I know I have a router table and things like that. So I understand how to router things and kind of tools and feeds and speeds a little bit, but yeah, I mean it was just a trial and error. So I'm glad that I had that machine for trial and error, because getting this Altmill out the gate and knowing nothing that's a much it's kind of scary, to be honest. So if it was me starting fresh with the Altmill, I would probably dial back some settings on it and probably make my max speed like maybe 300 to start, and just kind of dial things back a little bit so you're not crazy doing things, because you're gonna end up crashing it a lot. But it probably took me, I would say, 6 weeks probably to get comfortable enough where when I made a program, it would still probably 1 out of 3 times I'd screw something up in my program. But it's just how you learn. So a lot of practice. I ran a lot of jobs. I made a lot of cribbage. It was probably 6 weeks before I really started running anything for products for any customers. So, and I still haven't mastered it. I'm not even close. I know enough to do what I got to do. There's a lot in Vectric that I can learn. So let's see, Tall Flyer, if you watch any Groinwood videos, he sets his origins at the center of his workpieces using a double diagonal, but that's what works for him, right? Yeah, it's all about what works for each of us, right? I used to do that on my other CNC too. At first, I started with setting each piece on the one corner, and then I said, to heck with it, and I just do the diagonal thing and set the center origin for each piece. But then once I figured out that the machines can just home and it automatically sets 0, and you can just put a template in the file, and it's just a matter of where you drag your file to, or where you put your design in your Vectric file, and then it does it automatically. So that's what I do. It just saves me that little bit of time. I'm impatient. So so Dean says, yeah, I'm coming from the shaper origin, so I understand inside, outside, and pocket cuts and offsets, but that's about as far as it goes, right? You'll be able to pick this up pretty good, I think, Dean. You're going to get out of it what you put into it, and it's a hobby, at least for most of us. So I'm sure some of us are trying to make a living at this, and things like that, and there's a little more pressure on you for that. But for most of us, I mean, this is a hobby. This is something that, yeah, we can do production. Yes, we can make things, but as a hobbyist, if it doesn't go perfect every single time, and you got to tinker with some things every once in a while, for me, that's okay. Nothing's perfect. If we were going to run this as a large business and try to have a multi-head CNC, like a 5-foot by 20-foot CNC or something like that, and really cut a lot of parts for cabinetry or things like that, well, then you're going to need a couple $100,000 machine probably to make that happen, with an automatic tool changer and everything. But for this entry level, for full automation with the tool changer, bits, spindle, Altmill, wow, what a phenomenal setup for under 10 grand, in my opinion. So, and you don't have to do it all at once. You could get the Altmill for, what is it, $3,800 or $3,900, you know, but then you still got a spindle, you know, all these things, but you have a good entry point for people to get into this, and then you can save up a couple paychecks and you can buy what you need to have. So I think it's just super cool that technology has come this far. Marcus Aurelius, pro tip, using an aerometer center point is not a good idea. I don't understand. So I'm not sure I understand that one. So if you can talk back and forth on some comments, and it seems like he's really good with the software side of things. Like he's created, correct me if I'm wrong, Marcus, but you've created your own version of GSender. In a million years, do something like that. Dean says, ichrometer? Ichrometer? I don't know what that is. So, well, we've been on here an hour. I'm good to keep going if you guys want to keep going. If you guys have other questions, if there's something that you want to see, let me know. A micrometer, but with your eyes. I gotcha. Okay. So some CNC shop talk. Got it. An ichrometer. I got to admit, I am a little Polish sometimes. Yeah, my goal here for you guys and gals, I don't know if there's any gals on here or not, but oh, here, Tall Flyer's got a question. Is there a reason you don't have your X fence at the bottom of the spoil board? Seems like having it in the middle limits the size of work pieces you could use. That's true. And I certainly can have it at the bottom, but when I have it at the bottom, now I got to put my material on there and butt it to the bottom, and then I got to reach over the material to pull my stop blocks to tighten up, and I'm reaching for those. So for me, I set this up for what I do the majority of the time. So now I take my material. Typically, I do a glue up of 32 inches wide by 12 inches, deep, and 1.25 inches thick. And then I butt that right up into that corner, and I'm working right here, right in front of me. I don't have to bend over or lean or anything, and I work with all my clamps and everything right in front of me. Super easy, super fast. It's just for my workflow, that's just the easiest way for me, and it's not necessarily about speed or anything, but if I need to do something longer, all I got to do is pop out a couple of those little tubes, and if I got a longer piece, I just pull out a couple of tubes, and I still got my y-axis on one side or the other, and I can put my longer piece in there and then put my clamps on the sides and put them wherever I want. So this setup just works for me. I would probably not have this set up like this if I was doing, larger signs. If I was using the 4x4 table all the time, I wouldn't have this set up like this at all. But for me, most of my stuff is charcuterie boards, cutting boards, cribbage boards. I mean, I've made coasters. I mean, just really what anybody really kind of wants. So this is plenty of space, for my use. I do have a big sign coming up that I'll probably video. I got to do a 4-foot by 8-foot sign for a bar, and it's going to be out of the HD PE color core, 1/2 inch thick. I can get that locally here. And then I got to do another sign that'll be out of HDPE color core as well. And that one's a 4-foot by 5-foot sign. So obviously I won't be using the rapid change for those, but it's literally like 2 tools. So I don't mind manually changing the tools for that. And that's going to be on HDPE using the single flute O-flute bits. So that'll be kind of a learning process for me too. I got to do some testing on, I've never done anything in HDPE, just acrylic. So, or even the top. So for me, that is the top. I mean, if I put my stuff way at the top, I mean, I'd be reaching all the time because that's 4 feet. And so if I'm only doing something that's 12 inches, I'd be pushing it way up there and then reaching all the time for my clamp. So if in the future I do stuff that's deeper, I might do glue ups that might be 32 inches wide by, 32 inches, and then I can do even more cribbage boards if demand calls for it. I could certainly do that, but I would be limited. My planer is only a 13-inch planer. So if I was going to do that, I would have to do my surfacing then, and which would be fine. I could do all the surfacing on the CNC to get everything flat, and I could run them like that. That's a great idea. And then I would probably just replicate this kind of thing and extend my dog holes all the way down, and then just have another row of dog holes, in the back, or maybe right in front of the ATC there. So yeah, that's a good idea. But for me, for right now, it works for me. Marcus, you run a modded version of GSender, but I have been a CNC programmer and machinist for 25 years. I use Mastercam. It would make you sick seeing this Altmill running HFM. What's HFM? All I can think of is high frequency. I don't know what HFM is. 4x8 would be cool. Definitely video that. I will definitely video that, because that's going to be where we're going to be doing the whole pass-through thing, and I'll have to drill through. So that's going to be a fun sign. It's for Trails End Bar and Grill down the road here from me. And so I'm basically doing it pro bono. He's going to pay for the materials, obviously, and he's going to pay for me to do the do some testing, get some extra material. So it's a learning process for me. But that's kind of the new. It's been around for a while, this whole HDPE thing. But it's new for me, so I would rather do these signs for somebody for free and help the local community and help the buyer. He's gotten quotes for like over $15,000 to do his sign, and it's like $600 worth of material and a CNC. And so for me, I mean, I'll get something out of it. I'll get to learn from it, and then I'll have my name on that sign, and it's a campground, and he needs all kinds of signs at his campground and everything else. So I'm going to do that one kind of like very, very, like almost free. I mean, I'll charge for my time and all that kind of stuff, but he's going to get a heck of a deal, and I'm going to learn all about it, learn how to run that stuff, and then I'll be able to make stuff for their campers and cribbage boards and all kinds of business, because they're I'm going to have basically a display sign for my business there too. I'll be able to get to put my logo on it, that I made the sign, and all that kind of stuff. So high feed machining. So the Altmill's high feed machining in my book, but I'm sure there are way faster machines out there. Pretty nuts, at least in my opinion. I also think that probably like a 5-horse spindle would probably be the appropriate size spindle for the Altmill. But I don't know that that's necessarily needed either. I mean, I get away with basically my 1.5 kilowatt. I know it's a 2.2, but I'm only running mine on a 110 volt, so I don't get all the power out of it that I should, because I'm on a 110 volt plug. So, but it does great. I really like it, and I think that because I don't have to run it so hard, I think it's going to last longer, and bearings will last longer. I mean, I like that video from CNC Labs too, that 4.5 kilowatt. So I believe that's a 4.5 kilowatt. I think that's like a 5-horse motor, which in my experience in woodworking, when I used to make cabinets with my dad, so if somebody was going to do something like that, like it'd be fun to test and play with it. But realistically, I mean, I could literally, with a 4.5 kilowatt spindle, I could literally cut through my cribbage boards in one pass. But I do it in 4 passes now, and they come out nice and clean. So really, what's the point for me? But I do think that would be, as far as having something that's going to last a long time, that you're not going to push to its limits all the time, having a spindle like that would probably last a long, long time. So let's see if you guys got any other questions right now. Otherwise, we can kind of tie this up here, and or I can demo something else, or I can show you anything on Vectric. We can go into post processors. We can show you some G code. Oh, they're going to do a new spindle release. Yeah, we'll see if it's an ER20. Yeah. Yeah, just make sure that if you buy a spindle and you're considering doing a tool changer, you got to make sure that you can, run it down to 1200 RPMs and it can go counterclockwise on, with the VFD. Otherwise, you won't be able to run. So, it doesn't matter what spindle you get as long as you can run it slow for short periods of time and run counterclockwise. Yeah, so you guys let me know too. What kind of videos you guys want me to put out there? I mean, I'm really, I don't feel like I'm chasing my tail just yet with the rapid change stuff, but I know this channel has been all about the rapid change, and that's not 100, everything that I am going to be doing on this channel. So this channel is just going to be everything about, CNC, woodworking. I mean, we're going to get into all kinds of stuff, but it's really driven by all of you and what you guys want to see. So if you guys are giving me feedback, I'm just going to do whatever and just create content until somebody gives me, some feedback on what everybody's struggling with, what everybody needs help with. I mean, I pick up on things really quick, and I like doing it. I like the deep dive stuff. So I don't think I'm going to get into Mastercam software anytime soon, Marcus. But as far as doing this hobby stuff and trying new things and testing things, I'm really into this kind of stuff. This is super fun. So, and I like working with you guys. That's the most satisfying thing for me has been, working with you guys. Emmanuel Ortiz, he called me. I told him, or he, had a comment, and so I told him, I said, well, send me an email, and he sent me an email. So I gave him my phone number, and we connected, and I helped him get set up. He had some issues with his CNC spindle. The CNC 1.5 kilowatt spindle has some settings that need to be set to be able to get your RPMs down low enough. And I didn't know what they were because I don't run the CNC 1.5 kilowatt spindle. So we were able to get him connected right away with Don at Rapid Change, and Don knew right away what to do. We got Emmanuel going in a day's time, and he's off to the races and doing tool changes. So that's what we're here to do. Yeah, there is a Discord server out there too, on the Rapid Change website. So there's already some Discord stuff, some really good community information out there. So if you go to rapidchange.com, scroll down a little bit, there's a whole Discord community for Rapid Change. Guys have been doing this longer than I have, for sure. So definitely jump on that. And there's Facebook groups. So I joined a couple of Facebook groups. I do have my own Facebook group. If you want to, follow me on Facebook, it's just North NWWI Workshop. And so I'm on Facebook, and I link my live videos, I think, come out on Facebook, but I don't do really a lot on Facebook. I just linked it, and I'm going to be showcasing some products probably there. And then the next thing for me that I have to learn how to do is I got to learn how to build a website. So I actually paid for the nwwiworkshop.com. So I paid $11 for the year. So I'll pay for that every year. So I have that website, but I have to create the website. So if you go there, there's nothing there right now. But I want to be able to point people to different places, not necessarily for me to sell product, but I want to have a place for people to go to find macros or post-processor files or just anything, to be able to set up stuff like that. Sure, I mean, if I could put on Collet savers, so if somebody doesn't have a laser or 3D printer, I can put some of them up there for sale for cheap, and batch those out. Just want to have a place that we all have a place to go to do whatever we want and put whatever we want on there. So you have to have an anti-clockwise spindle, because in order to take off your collet nut, your spindle has to spin backwards when it takes off the collet nut and to take it off, and then it goes clockwise when it goes to pick up a new collet, a new bit. So counterclockwise to unload a bit, clockwise to pick up the bit. So as far as the speeds go, you need, depending on what size, so my speeds, I have an ER20, 2.2 kilowatt, doesn't matter, but an ER20, I use, I believe it's 2250 RPMs. It's 2,250 RPMs for picking up my tools. And then it's 2,600 is my unload speed to take it off. And that's pretty much maxed out. I could probably go a little bit higher. And then I also do the double strike. I don't have any reason. I just like to make sure that my collet is locked on there. So I was doing single strikes and I didn't have any issues, but I was always concerned that maybe I was going to get some bit slip or something. I never did, but they have the third strike or the second strike option, so I just added it, and so now I put it on there and I don't have any issues and it works great every time. So some people say don't change a winner. So when you get a winning combination, just go with it. And so mine's ready to rock and roll, and I got all my settings. So whenever you guys get ready to set your stuff up, I'm happy to do a one-on-one. You can email me at nwwiworkshop@gmail.com. When you get your stuff, if you want to have a little one-on-one, I'd be happy to give you a call. If you got an iPhone, I got an iPhone. We can FaceTime. You can show me stuff. I can send you macros. I can help you get through your programming. I'm happy to do all that. That's why I started this whole thing, to help everybody out, because it's a pretty cool thing, and I get a lot of satisfaction out of that. I guess I don't get enough out of my personal life. I don't get enough satisfaction, helping people in my personal life. So I'm happy to do it for you guys, and I just enjoy the community here. So I don't know what else you guys got. Monday. You guys are going to end up having questions. There's going to be new people that are going to be coming along. I'm getting 1 to 2 subscribers a day that are coming on and joining on YouTube here. So, there's going to be new people. I don't want to regurgitate the same material every single time. So if there's something that we want to move on to, we could do Vectric software. I know there's just a ton of videos out there about that kind of stuff, but if you think Vectric software would be good, or maybe get into some of this post-programming or post-processor stuff, we could read some G-code files and just go through a whole program and kind of help everybody understand a little more of that, if that seems interesting. Or if we just want to do demos, we can do all kinds of stuff. I'm going to assume that PWN's spindles do go counterclockwise, but I'm not 100% sure. So yeah, it's definitely, definitely want to know what you're getting before you buy it, before it ships, for sure. So that's half the battle, is just having the information, right? So as long as your spindle can go down to 1200 RPM, the VCarve spindle is defaulted out of the box at 7500 RPMs. I'm going to assume, and I could be totally wrong, that PWN's CNC, their VFD is also set up out of the box at a minimum speed of probably 7,500 or 9,000 RPMs. But you can probably go into that VFD and adjust those settings. There's a lot of talk online about you can't run your spindles at low speeds. And this is true for long runs and for big things. I can show you guys something here real quick. I have my VFD is set to show amps, and I'm going to show you why. This is kind of a cool little thing here for you. So I got my camera here. I'm going to put you up on my big camera. Oh, that's the wrong one. Do this one. Okay. So let me see if I can point this at my VFD. All right. I think you guys can see that. Get my chat back in here. So you can see that on my VFD, it says A for amps. So if I, oops, sorry, let me get this thing, I'm trying to hold it here steady for you. All right. So if I push the shift key, so this shift key cycles through different things. So these are probably RPMs. This is probably your hertz. I don't know what that is. There's all kinds of different. You just keep pushing. So there's your RPMs right there. So that shows 0, 0. So if I turn on my spindle, let's just do that. Gotta go here, spindle. I'm gonna set my spindle to, let's just go to 12,000-ish RPMs. So my spindle's running. So that's hertz. Okay. So let's keep pushing shift on this guy. So that's amps. So there's RPMs right there. And that matches what I have on GSender. So my GSender shows 11,750 and my VFD shows 11,751. Okay? So here's my takeaway here for you guys to help you understand. I'm going to get back to amps. So here's the amps. So right now, we're pulling 3.5 amps. So I'm going to start turning this down. So this is at 6280. So look at how my amps went up to 4.2, 4.3. Okay, I'm going to turn it down some more. This is 4120. And we went up to 5.6 amps, 5.7. So I'm going to go down a little bit more. 3180 RPM. So we're at 7 amps. So you can see the lower you go, the more amps you pull. And if I go down to 2600, that's right at 2600. That's my unload speed. And that's at 7.9 amps. So amps kind of equal torque, so to speak. If I go down to 2150, well, there's 2240. I'm at 8.4 amps. So if I keep going down, so there's 1380 at 8.3 amps. There's 1380. So anyway, you kind of get the picture here. So the lower speeds that you go, the higher amperage goes. So on my VFD, I had to dial it back on my torque curve because at my lower speeds, because I have a 2.2 kilowatt spindle, it was trying to draw way too much amperage. And I actually blew one of my VFDs. And it didn't like blow up, but it just stopped working. And couldn't figure out why. Well, I learned that at low RPMs, you got to make some changes because I think this VFD is only rated up to 11 amps and it has a tolerance. You can go a little over that or whatever, but I dialed mine back so I don't even get close to it. And like I showed you there, I'm at 7 or 8 amps and I don't have any worry of. All right, get this adjusted. Something like that. All right, let's see what you guys had to say. One more time with your email, N. So same as my YouTube channel. So my YouTube channel is NWWI Workshop, Northwest Wisconsin Workshop. So my email is nwwiworkshop@gmail.com. Yeah, Steve, I think that theirs can run counterclockwise too. And factory setting on lowest RPM is 6,000, but the question is it going to be adjusted or adjustable below 6,000? So I can, if anybody decides to make a purchase on Amazon to get the 2.2 kilowatt 110 volt like I have, I'd be happy to walk you through. I got all my settings. I think I actually got a page. No, I don't have it up here right now, but I pretty much know this VFD inside and out for the features that we need for it. So be happy to help you set it up and share what my settings are and show you how you can make adjustments so that you understand your VFD too. The information that's out there on YouTube, I could not find good information. So I had to learn by trial and error, and I learned the hard way and I popped one. So, and I learned from that, learned how to dial it down. So yeah. So yeah, anything that you get, you want to understand your equipment. You know, when I was in the military, you know, everything that we did, you know, every piece of equipment that we worked on, we had to learn everything about it. And so I still have kind of that mentality. So any equipment that I have and that I work on, I want to make sure that I understand inside and out how that works and how to adjust it and maintain it. So super important as you go. So getting things, you know, that work right out of the box, well, that's great until you have to make a change. So at some point, everybody's got to learn their equipment. And that's why I'm here to help with the equipment that I have. And I'm sure I'm going to learn other people's equipment too as I, you know, learn and work with other people. Like I learned about, you know, the CNC spindle a little bit working with the manual. So, all right. Well, if question, you can also use the surfacing bit in the account. I'm assuming you mean using the surface bit in the rapid change automatic tool changer. So, well, that depends. I believe that the largest bit that would fit in this tool changer is probably a 3/4 inch. So if you have a 3/4 inch or less bit for your surfacing bit, then the answer is yes, you could do it automatically, out manually. So you don't always have to use the, you know, the rapid change for everything. When I am doing my cribbage boards, my charcuterie boards, and all that kind of stuff, I mean, an ER20 takes up to a 1/2 inch collet bit. So I just throw my 1/2 inch bit in there and I can surface that thing with a 1/2 inch bit at 600 inches per minute, and it's done in no time. So unless I'm doing my whole wood, everything is either my 3/8 inch roughing bit, or I just use my 1/2 inch bit, and this machine goes so fast that it's done in seconds. So, you know, and then you can just put it right in your program. So when I do my cribbage boards, even my large cribbage boards, and I got a pocket, you know, a 1/2 inch deep. If I'm doing a 1/2 inch deep 3D carve relief, I got a pocket around that 3D, a 1/2 of an inch for the playing surface of the cribbage board. And then that leaves the center for whatever the logo is in there. And then I 3D carve after that. And so it literally gets that done in like 2 minutes, and it's super fast. That's correct. The surface bit, the cutting surface could be a lot larger than the shaft diameter, but it won't fit down into the rapid change cassette. So I'm sure they could probably make a separate little thing that you could set anywhere on your spoil board. You could probably 3D print something, and you could probably make something that would work for those. But for the size that these are, it's not meant to work with the surfacing bits. The bigger, like anything above 3/4 of an inch. So yeah. But yeah, this Altmill is so fast anyway. I mean, gosh, I could almost I mean, I know it's way faster with 1.5 inches, don't get me wrong, but I could probably surface this whole spoil board, pretty fast with a 1/2 inch bit too. So, pretty fast machine. Well, if you guys don't have anything else, I'm going to jump off here and go get some dinner. And I've enjoyed the conversation. I've enjoyed showing you guys and helping you guys, answer some of your questions. And I hope you got something out of it. Well, you use a 2.5 inch surfacing bit, Steve. What RPM do you run that at? That's got to be 12,000 RPM or less, for sure. Yeah, Dean, good to meet you. I think I've seen you on here before. Your profile picture looks familiar, so yeah, good to work with you. So I'm working on my videos, trying to get better every day for everybody. I hope this live stream comes out decent and the picture quality is good. I'm going to continue working on the video and the audio, as I go and as I learn. So I noticed you use plywood for your first later spoil board. Preference over the MDF. Plywood's stronger than MDF, and MDF can be flexible, and it can be a little more, it can swell up a little bit more with moisture. So I have a walkout basement. So technically I'm in my basement, but it's a walkout, so I can walk right out of my shop out to my backyard here. But it is a concrete floor. It does get a little bit more moisture down here. So plywood is just rock solid and strong. And I thought that would be a better choice than MDF for my base layer. So no other reason than that. MDF would be just fine, I'm sure, but stiffer the better. I think 3/4 inch plywood's a lot more stiff than MDF is. So just the way it's built. 18,000 RPMs, 150 inches a minute. Wow. And Steve, is that on an Altmill? Because you could probably run that bit way faster than that. I know I run my 1.5 inch at 450 inches per minute. And that's a 1.5 inch bit on my spoil board. Now I'm not taking a lot of material off, I'm just skimming it, but still, you can cruise with those things. Yeah, if there's no other questions, look forward to my videos. I'll try to see if I can get that video out this week for how to set up your spoil board in your design software, whether you have Vectric or whatever. You'll never have to zero your X and Y axis ever again if you don't want to, and you want to use that. That's how I do it. When you're using the long mill still. Okay, so you're probably limited by the 150 inches per minute. So that kind of makes sense. So once you get the alt mill, it's a game changer. If you're going for the alt mill ever, yeah, it's you can fly. You can max out the chip loads on your bits. You can overload them. You got to be careful, actually. So I love the fact that I can use the full potential of these router bits. That's like, with my other CNC, I think my max speed was 120 or 150 or something like that. I couldn't get anywhere close. I was just making sawdust all the time and, dulling bits. Now my bits, like, I haven't dulled a bit yet on this machine. I still use all the same bits. I got lots of bits, but the bits just don't get dull now that you can actually use them at their potential. So they don't get hot. Every time I get done with a bit, I could grab that bit with my hand and it doesn't, it's not hot at all. So pretty cool stuff. All right. We'll see you guys in the next one next Monday, 7 p.m. Central Time. If there is a better time, feel free to send me an email, NWWI Workshop. Let me know what time and what time zone would work best. Sometimes I may jump on these early. Just depends on what's going on. So we'll see you guys soon. Appreciate you. And see you next Monday if nothing else. Take care.